Welcome to the Money Huddle, a podcast that explores financial topics for families and small business owners. Hosted by Michael Baker and Ross Marinell. All opinions expressed by Michael and Ross or any podcast guests are solely their own opinions and may not reflect the opinions of Planners Alliance. The podcast recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Clients of Planners Alliance may maintain positions in securities discussed on the program.
Welcome back to the Money Huddle. My name is Michael Baker, and I'm here with my co-host, Ross Marinell. Ross, how you doing today?
Michael, I'm blocking people left and right. I'm blocking like there's no tomorrow.
I hear you've become like Dikembe Mutombo on Twitter, and you're just giving people you're just like blocking people left and right.
I'm the Manute Bowl of Twitter. So a couple of weeks ago,
you're the Mount Mutombo. You should change your username to Mount Mutombo. Like, just block. So you've been blocked.
For those that know me, they know I'm not a huge Facebook user.
You are Mr. Anti-social media.
I deleted my Facebook account. I'd had enough.
Right.
But I do use Twitter. And I use Twitter because I follow interesting people, and there's good articles that get posted. It's a nice kind of news sharing feature, but
it can be a good source for news if you curate it carefully.
Yes. Well, here lately though, it feels like my news feed has been filled with nothing but ads. So I started about 2 weeks ago. If I saw an ad, I blocked it. I just blocked them.
Yep.
Doesn't matter who.
Just for anyone who's listening, if you're on Twitter, like the ads will always have a little thing beside them say sponsored, right?
Well, no, I just recognize this is not somebody I'm following.
You're like, who is this person?
I click on the little drop down that says, why am I seeing this ad? And I go, block.
Oh.
And so I'm blocking people like Manute Bowl.
Are you?
So
how many
weeks?
How many blocks a day are you averaging now?
That's a good question. Well, here's the deal. 2 weeks in, I have blocked 1,296 accounts. That's how many ads that I've come across.
In 2 weeks, 1,296 ads.
So just think, if you're using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
You're being bombarded.
It is constant.
Right.
It's bombardment.
Well, we know Facebook owns Instagram, right?
Correct.
And Twitter is its own thing. And then we know Google owns YouTube.
Right.
So it's like these big companies.
And I've noticed YouTube now getting the bookend advertisement on your videos too. You notice that?
Yeah.
Because they used to be just on the front. Now they're catching you on the back too.
Or they're putting them like in the middle. Yeah. They get you like right in the middle, where it's like you can watch like you get like 2 minutes in, and then you get hit with the boom with the ad.
Just curious. I always think about how we're being marketed to. So the advertisement is real. Almost 1,300 accounts in 2 weeks. So anyway, enough of that. So I'm done blocking today. So
waterboarded.
This month, Michael, tell me what this month is.
This month, this is kind of sad, but I kept seeing ads for it. It said apparently this month is Annuity Awareness Month, and so pretty sad that I didn't know that this was Annuity Awareness Month, but apparently it is.
Right.
So we figured we'd talk about it.
So we know there's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There's Black History Month. There's a lot of months reserved. I think Annuity Awareness must be the most unloved of the awareness months.
Well,
I think.
if you follow anything in the financial services industry, the word annuity might as well be a 4-letter word for some people. I mean, it's one of those words where it is almost instantly polarizing. It is the Donald Trump of financial products.
Okay, if we want.
Because Trump, you're either, it's hard to be middle of the road on Donald Trump, right?
Agreed.
Yes. So that's kind of like
there's kind of a lot of people that go, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does.
I'm not sure. Right. I'm still on the fence. No, I mean, I think at this point it's either, you're either on board and you're just like, you're hanging on for dear life, or you are like fighting with your every bit of your being, like, no, please, no, let us get somebody else this next election, which, by the way, may be why you're getting this uptick in Twitter ads, because more and more people with the election season starting, social media is ramping up. Just a thought. But anyway, so we wanted to talk a little bit about annuities in this show. First of all, my take on it is this. Annuities are one of the most marketed financial products out there, but one of the least understood financial products out there. And that goes to advisors, to wholesalers, to clients. I'm equal opportunity with that across the board. And that goes on, with my experience. And so, and it could be for different reasons. And we'll try to hopefully explore a few of those reasons in this show. But Ross, just to kick it over to you, I mean, what do you, when I say annuities to you, what's your first reaction?
Well, I think for anyone in the retirement planning space that works with people that are preparing for and entering retirements, people own them. Okay.
Right.
People nearing retirement or in retirement own annuity products. That's a fact. We, as an advisor, I think it's our duty and responsibility to understand them to the best of our ability, because we need to be able to counsel, give advice, and to whatever the outcome might be, either maximize the benefits of the existing product or find something that may be a little bit more suited. So I think the first step is the awareness that they're owned. They're owned by the retirement group pretty thoroughly. And I think it's our duty to be able to understand them and not just have a blanket opinion. I hate annuities. I love annuities. I think it needs to be a little bit more, let's be real, and look at the actual product, understand how it functions, recognizing that there are some very good annuity programs that will really solve problems for people in retirement, whether it's guaranteed income, whether it's some kind of safe accumulation. And this idea that you can't just be biased going in. You really have to have some understanding of that the realization that there are going to be some really good products and there are going to be some that really probably don't hit the mark.
Yeah. And so when you say that there's some really good products, that also the flip side of that coin is there's some really bad products. In your opinion, what makes a good product versus a bad product?
Well, I think it comes
just what are some kind of fundamental things to look at?
Sure. So there's a few things that we would examine, right? First, we want to know how the annuity accumulates. Does it have a pretty simple, straightforward accumulation path? So, for example, some fixed indexed annuities, which is one type of annuity, maybe it is your accumulation balance is linked to the S&P 500, and you could grow, let's say over the course of a year, whatever your contract year is, maybe you can grow 6%, but you can't go beyond that. Something where if the accumulation strategy is really simple, it's straightforward, it's pretty easy to understand. The less complex some of these programs can be, I think sometimes the better suited they can be. But first, understand how they can accumulate interest for the investor.
And I think to that point, that the key thing to understand is you have really two worlds. There's really three worlds of annuities, in my opinion. You have your income annuities. These would be your contracts like single premium immediate annuities or deferred income annuities, where effectively what you're doing is you take a sum of money, you give it over to an insurance company, and that insurance company creates a contract where they are going to return that money to you plus some form of imputed interest in the form of paychecks over a period of time. So,
so as the owner of that, you are foregoing a current cash value to have a future income
stream. And it's like the vanilla annuity, income type of contract design. So that's one way. Number two is really where most of these conversations kind of hover around is fixed annuities, which include, in my view, fixed index annuities and variable annuity contracts. And the way that the easy way to remember the difference is a fixed contract typically is principally protected. It can't go down. You're not directly investing in the market in those type of instruments. A variable contract, you are investing in the market, and variables in the name, your results can vary. You could earn or accumulate wealth in that, or you could have a risk to your principal. And so that's first and foremost, just to understand when we talk about accumulating and how the annuity accumulates. We want to know, well, what kind of annuity is it? Is it an income only annuity? Well, those don't really accumulate. Those are contracts for income. The other two is is it a fixed contract where there's some principal safety, or is principally protected? How does it then earn interest or credit? Or is it a variable contract where you're trying to grow the contract by investing it directly into the market? And so those are key things to understand. And what else?
There, just let's stop right there, because one of the ways that the media reports on annuities is sort of this blanket statement. Right?
Oh yeah.
So maybe you'll see an article, annuities are X, like annuities are a bad solution for this. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll take either an element of a single premium annuity where there's no cash accumulation balance and you're going to lose, the investment could be lost if you pass away early, or they'll just sort of take an element of maybe a variable annuity and they'll exploit certain aspects of that may be undesirable, like maybe some costs and fees associated with it. So we sort of get this blanket annuity versus the more detailed pin down into which type of annuity are we really talking about. That's kind of like saying, creating a blanket statement about bonds. Well, is it treasury bonds? Is it corporate bonds? Is it high yield bonds? Is it international bonds? Right. Yeah. So it's in that sense, some of the conversation started right out of the gate. We're not being detailed enough about what exactly we're talking about.
Well, I think my take on that is, the financial journalists that I like are few and far between, because I find that most of them, they are reporters that are covering a topic. They are not financial experts that are writing about a topic in which they're an expert. So there are a few out there that I think are great, but you have to be very careful. And I think that's one of the things, just as a consumer, you have to understand where you're getting your information from. Are you getting it from, experts in the field that know the stuff inside out, backwards and forwards, that are completely objective and they're trying to give you the best information possible? Or is it someone that was told, hey, you're going to write a story because the Google traffic on this type of product is high, and we want to have a piece out there about, annuities? And so I think that's why you get a lot of the generalized annuity or incomplete information out there about annuities. But, my take on it is really my beef with annuities typically comes with the industry. And it's been my experience personally that when an advisor or a financial professional or, a financial services rep, whatever someone's calling themselves, it's been my experience that their opinion about annuities is almost 100% directly correlated to whether or not they can sell them or use them in their practice. So for example, and this is one thing that we tell everybody about insurance right now, is that insurance products, for the most part, they pay commissions. That is the way. If you want to buy a life insurance policy, there is a commission for that. That's what an agent would get paid. There are some carriers out there that are trying new and different ways to experiment with the compensation models, but generally speaking, insurance companies pay commissions to people. There's nothing wrong with that. You just need to know that going in if you're going to look at an insurance solution. And so if you have somebody that is a fee-only financial professional, meaning they only get paid a fee, maybe they only get paid a planning fee. Well, if they're going to get paid compensation to manage a portfolio, well, if you're going to take a portion of your assets and go buy an annuity, they may not be able to be compensated on that. So there's inherently a conflict of interest that can arise, because if you're taking money out away from their ability to manage that portfolio and bill you on that portfolio, a lot of times, it's been my experience, they're not going to be for that.
Well, and this is no better illustrated than one of the greatest financial advertising campaigns of all time.
It.
Hall of Fame advertising campaign with Ken Fisher, Fisher Investments.
Right.
They are an asset management firm, right? They manage people's portfolios, so they want a blend of whatever they invest in, stocks, bonds, ETFs, whatever it is. And so their Hall of Fame advertising campaign was, "I hate annuities and you should too."
Right.
And that is the perfect marketing campaign for the first take generation that we have, right? Which is square off. I'm making my stand, you defend yours. And it's the most clear, concise, this is the way I feel about it. And it completely aligned with their business model, which is to have portfolios managed.
Right.
And
well, that's it's brilliant marketing. Because it's a direct, I'm hitting you right between the eyes with this statement, and we're gonna fight tooth and nail to back it up. But the end game for that firm is, like you said, managed assets, managed portfolio assets. They're not a financial planning firm. They're not retirement income specialist firm. They're not, comprehensive financial plan. It's just portfolio or wealth management.
Right. And what that sort of fails to acknowledge is there are some good annuity programs out there.
Right.
There are some benefits to the guaranteed income or the income side of the annuity that resonates with retirees.
Right.
Where they want to have some level of consistency. Maybe it's an assurance from the insurance carrier that we're going to have some consistent income that's that I can't outlive.
Right.
And so the problem is with that statement is, I'm sure he believes it, and it works. But the key is that may not represent the client.
Exactly.
What the client wants to achieve through their retirement plan.
Well, I think the focus for at least groups like ours, there are a lot of advisory groups out there, planning professionals out there that say that they focus on retirement, and retirement is the key thing right now, because it's usually, if you look at any poll, any study, that's usually like the number one reason. It's up there. It's always in the top one or two reasons why people seek the help of a financial professional, is they're trying to figure out, hey, can I do this retirement thing, or am I working forever, right? And so, annuities are a retirement product. That's generally what they're for.
Designed to create income.
Exactly.
And when we're doing the sort of due diligence of discovery, right, to identify what someone's spending goals are in retirement, and then sort of backtracking, well, what existing income sources do you have from Social Security, pension, whatever those may be. You total those up, and if there's a shortfall, then there's a withdrawal need that's got to be supplied from somewhere.
Sure.
So the portfolio, an annuity agreement, something along those lines. So that's typically where we're evaluating what is the actual income need or gap that exists.
Right.
And then how then do you, as the client, want to supply that?
Yeah.
And that's where everyone's different. Some people say, look, I'm completely comfortable with the withdrawal from a portfolio.
Right.
Or I want a little bit more structure. And that's where I think those blanket statements of this is good or bad really fails ultimately the consumer.
Well, it's like, I like to refer to these as just as simply as tools. It's like, there's a tool for just about any job. If you go to my dad's workshop, he'll tell you. He's got thousands.
He's got every tool.
He's got every tool in there. The guy's the mayor of. He's the mayor of Lowe's, and he's got tools. But the thing is he knows how to use them. I got to give him credit. He'll pull it out and he's like, "This is what this is for, and this is how you use it, and this is the type of situation where this is going to be helpful." And so at least he understands it. But that's the key is. Annuities, like anything else, it is a tool. Is it right? Is it wrong? All of that stuff, all of those conversations should be done in what I say is the context of a plan. And so kind of the big thing, I guess, if we could wrap this up on at least as a foray for annuity awareness, is one is annuities are marketed very, very heavily. And there's no disputing that. And they're very polarizing. But the key is like, what's the, one of the things that you always say is like, well, it's easy to get money into something. How do we get the money out?
Right.
And that comes in like, how is this going to be used in the context of a plan? And so one of the questions we will often ask someone if they come into our office and they own an annuity product is like, okay, so take us back when you sat down with the professional and you guys were talking about this contract and what it was going to do for you. what was the plan? Like, how were we, how is this going to be used? And most people don't have an answer for that. They're just like, well, this is what they said I should do. And we're looking for more. We're looking like, no, it has a guaranteed income benefit, or it has this guaranteed feature, or it has this way. Like, this is what it's going to do. And Stan the Annuity Man is famous for his statement, what will it do? Not what it might do, right, but what will the contract actually do? And so that's what we're trying to get at. And unfortunately, a lot of folks don't understand that.
Well, see, that's the point. The idea resonates. Hey, we could take a little, maybe there's a risk question, right? We could take a little less risk. We can guarantee some income, and then the idea works. But then the utility of it is, well, okay, how are we actually going to apply it to your situation, to your retirement? How much will it provide an income, that investment? How long will it last? Who will it protect? That's when we get into all that kind of series of questions where we have to understand the program and how it works to determine if it's truly a useful tool, right, for that couple or that individual in retirement. And so that's kind of where I think one of the failures is that, yes, the idea at the beginning of the sales process is great, but how do we unwind it? How does it actually get used throughout your lifetime to maximize the potential and create some value for you as the
so
investor?
if we were to kind of just off the cuff here talk about what are some questions that consumers should ask anyone that's presenting them with an annuity product, what would you go with?
Well, I always want a short explanation is there a concise explanation as to how the annuity will accumulate? Mm-hmm. Then I also want
how does the annuity make money?
Right. How can you earn interest?
Right.
What is your likelihood of earning interest? What happens if you don't earn interest over a specific period of time?
Okay.
Always, like you said, we want to know what the worst case scenario is, and then what the average scenario is.
So, number one, how does the contract accumulate interest? How does it earn interest? Number two, what's my worst case scenario? Or in our words, what's the guarantee?
Right. What's the guarantee? If we can live with the guarantee, then...
Or is there a guarantee?
Right. Secondly is, if there are income rider or income benefits associated with the agreement, how do they work? Mm-hmm. Whose life is covered? One of the, I think, unique abilities of some of the lifetime income benefit riders is to cover a spouse. So, for example, if you own an IRA or an individual agreement,
right,
you in some cases can include coverage for a spouse for the lifetime income benefit.
Right.
That could become pretty valuable later in life.
Because you have two lifetimes.
Because you have two lifetimes for that to cover. And we don't know that, right? The magic question in retirement is we don't know what anyone's longevity is, right? If we knew how long you're going to live, retirement planning would be a breeze.
It would be very easy.
But because we don't, we have to be prepared for someone, or at least one person, to maybe live a little longer than the average.
Right.
So there's a lot of questions around how it generates income, right? Who's covered?
Right.
How does that income benefit increase and change over time?
Okay.
Usually if there's a deferral to it, it may increase, right? So there could be some provisions where each year that you wait, it goes up. Typically what we want to do is try and find that sweet spot between deferral and then beginning that benefit.
Right.
Right? Because ultimately you need to receive it. And what's the appropriate time to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I want to know is, how does that alter or shift the rest of your asset mix? Meaning, how does it fit into what you're doing as a whole?
Right.
And does that, maybe that, whatever that income benefit is, or the principal safety of the annuity, if there is some, does that allow you to maybe take a little bit more equity risk on the remaining assets?
Right.
Right. If you have a core foundation of income established that you're fairly comfortable with, does that allow you as the investor, in retirement, to say, hey, maybe I can take a little bit more risk? That's some of the key kind of concepts I would look at.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I think, to kind of sum up what I heard from you was, we want to know, how does the annuity accumulate or earn interest? What's my worst case scenario? Or what's my guarantee? Right. Is there a guarantee? Then it's, are there any kind of guaranteed income benefits? If there are guaranteed income benefits, who's covered? Does it cover just me? Does it cover me and my spouse? I mean, what happens there? For me, from my side of it, I would want to tell people, and this is something that I see a lot, I hear, and we've heard a lot of people that come in and they bought a contract or they were presented a contract, but it was only one option. So I would tell people, if you're working with someone or someone's saying, hey, this is the company for you, I would ask them, well, are there any other companies that you would recommend? Because sometimes when they're just interested in selling a product, they're going for the one that's going to pay them the best, or they're like the top brass, they're working for, internal, back office rewards. And folks, I'm not trying to be nasty, but that's just the way the industry's built right now. And I wish it were different, but I would tell people, well, can you show us 2 or 3 options? And let's talk through the pros and cons of the difference. Because you know what the truth is, if we were talking about a portfolio, if we put somebody through a risk tolerance questionnaire, there would probably be a couple of different portfolio options that would be right for that investor, that would help, that would work in their plan. And they would want to see those. Yeah. They would want to know, like, okay, well, if I invest my dollars this way, then how does that impact my plan? And what if I take this? And, one of the things we talk about with folks is like a core and a satellite strategy, where you have your core big diversified portfolio, but maybe you have a smaller portfolio specialized in a certain type of asset class. Well, why would you not take that same level of care with something else that you're putting an allocation of your money into this contract? Well, I want to know that I'm getting the best contract we possibly can, not the one that's just, that the advisor chose. I want to know if there's one out there that may suit me better. Because we've seen, you might value, as a client, may value more guaranteed income. Some people may say, well, the guaranteed income story is great, but I don't want to just not ever earn any money. So I'm willing to maybe take a little less of an income guaranteed to have the contract have the ability to possibly earn greater interest over time. And then the last thing I would say to people, and this is just, it's important in general, and I'll use the grocery store story. Like, so I do grocery shopping for my family, right? Yeah. So I go to the grocery store, and I've got it down on a routine now. I don't need a list. Like, I know if I'm going for the big trip, like what I got to get for like the cart is going to be full trip. And I know if I'm going for like, hey, this is just the emergency run because we are out of a few things. Right. So I have my places to go, and I know what to do. So, and now that I've done that enough, like I almost know within 10, 15 bucks what I'm paying when I check out. Right. But most people have no clue what they're paying for financial products that they own. It's just they bought this product. We've seen people tell us that walk in here with variable contracts and think they're paying no fees. And so we try to say, okay, this is the important thing that you have to understand, is that there are costs to doing anything, right? If something is free, even, we have a presidential candidate right now that wants to make college free. Well, we know that that's not going to be free. There's a cost. It's just, are we going to pay?
Who's paying for it?
Exactly. So that's the key, is I want to know, what are the fees? What are the costs of the contract? Because the fees and the costs could significantly alter that contract's ability to do whatever they're telling you it might do. So going back to the very beginning, like, we want to know what the guarantee is, because in some cases that may be what you're stuck with, is what the actual guarantee is. It's like, there's a great story. Oh, it could do this. It could possibly do this. But what if it doesn't? Right. You got to be okay with the guarantee. So I think that's a great, litmus test. And obviously we've devoted an inordinate amount of years and of time just researching and studying and trying to be students of annuities, because the fact is, they are marketed. People are going to purchase them for various reasons, some personal, some just the fact that they bought the story. So we want to understand those products, and it is Annuity Awareness Month, so it made sense to
surprisingly Annuity Awareness Month. Who knew?
Yeah, exactly. Annuities are not going to go away. So anyone that thinks that they're going to go away, in fact, I think they're going to get more innovative, more permeated into different financial products and financial strategies because we have so many people retiring. So they're not going away, and it's important to be educated and to be working with financial professionals, in my opinion, that really understand them and can give you an objective view. And I personally like the idea of working with someone that has the ability and knows how to use annuity products. But if you don't want them as a client, don't care for them as a client, they don't represent you, you don't feel like they'll help you, you can also work with that same person and develop a plan that doesn't have an annuity.
Sure.
Yeah, because if you only can work with one tool, are you really comprehensive, or are you one trick pony? I don't know.
Well, that's my point from starting this conversation was people own them. People that are in our seats need to embrace and understand them so that you can give competent guidance.
Or at least understand them, that even if you personally as an advisor, so this is talking to advisors now, even if you're an advisor and you don't like annuities and you don't want to work, you will not use them in your practice, you should know them so that you can assist clients that have them, because there are products out there where you're actually would be doing clients harm in taking them out of a contract that's going to give them a guaranteed income benefit or a joint life income benefit for them and their spouse, just because you don't like an annuity product. That to me is financial malpractice just as much as selling a terrible product.
Right.
So all right, well, we got a little bit of time left, not a whole lot. Okay. So there was one other article that I saw that I wanted to run by you, because I thought this is a Ross Marinell article.
Ooh, I'm ready.
And so anyway, what it was I think it was the Washington Post that put out this article, and it talked about the amount of people that were now borrowing money to get married. Yeah, so here it is. It's the Washington Post. Title of the article is "Married to Debt. Couples are taking out loans to pay for their weddings. Americans who are already under record levels of debt are now taking out wedding-specific loans." What do you think about that?
I'm too old for this. I can't comment on this. Yeah. I got married in 2001. I'm from Indiana. I got married in Indiana. It was like $5,000. I mean, anyone borrowing.
Oh my, that's that's what it costs to buy to get a wedding photographer today.
That is just, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm too cheap, and I can't fathom the reality of financial stress. Right. Though is serious, right?
Well, I'm going to read you a couple of sentences from this article. So here's one little snippet. It says financial technology companies with snappy names like Prosper, Upstart, and Earnest are promoting wedding-specific loans with interest rates as high as 30% to cash-strapped couples. Loans are often marketed as a way to fund extras like custom calligraphy or donut displays and, quote, Instagram-worthy venues, though some borrowers say they rely on the loans to fund the entire wedding. 30%.
I say delete your Facebook account.
30%.
Go get married for $500.
Here you go. Here's another one. It says couples borrow on average $16,000 and typically pay it off within 3 years. Interest rates for this company range 7 to 18%, making it a cheaper option than many credit cards.
So true story. So my wife Nancy and I, the first kind of real rolling credit card bill we had. This is going back to just when we graduated, right?
Oh, I know what you're going to tell me. We've talked about this.
We paid for our honeymoon.
That's right.
On a credit card. And it wasn't that extravagant, right? It was a couple $1,000s, something around there. But we couldn't get rid of it, right? Because obviously, if you have credit card debt, you know the reality is
right.
Once that balance gets big enough that you can't wipe it out every month, if you're still
compounding
using
works against
the
you,
card,
buddy.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can pay off the monthly charges, the kind of ongoing monthly charges that you have, but you can't pay off the balance. And it took a job change for me to be able to go in and sweep it off.
Yeah.
But once we did, that was it. And I can't
never again.
And I would just never wish that financial stress on anybody. And if I could counsel those folks, I would beg and plead for them not to do that.
Right. So if you are a parent, or if you are like our age, you're raising young kids, or you've got friends that are getting ready to get married, let me tell you something. And this is just, straight from the heart. The wedding day experience is a cool thing. I've been to plenty of weddings. I thought this was amazing. But you know what? You don't need to have a wedding for Instagram. You need to have a wedding for you and your spouse. And financial stress is one of the number one topics that creates strife in a home, that creates the seeds for divorce.
Could you imagine that the wedding day credit card bill leads to the
last thing
divorce?
you want to do is start off your wedding already strapped with financial burdens, because let's face it, like younger folks today, and even folks that are, not what we would consider not that young anymore, they've got you're talking to get going in life, childcare expenses, mortgage, car payments, student loan debt,
right?
And we're going to throw there's our wedding payment that we borrowed to get married, and so the thing is like, it kind of goes back to what we talked about in our other podcast about delayed gratification.
Yes.
There is nothing wrong with having a nice, modest wedding, right? Mm-hmm. Getting yourself off on a good start.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, getting yourself off on a good start, firm financial foundation, get everybody on the same page, work towards a goal, and then one of these big anniversary, years, 5 years in, 10 years in, save for it and have a bang up party and say, you know what? Hey, we're not celebrating the one day, this day where we've got thousands upon thousands of debt. I mean, I know parents, we see clients come in like, yeah, I've got 3 daughters, and you could just see they're excited, but they're also like, that's 3 weddings. They know. And so,
see, I guess mentally, I think that the college is the big hurdle between now and my retirement, but maybe it's the college plus 2 weddings.
Oh, for sure. But that's so again, but you're cheap, and so am I in that regard. I'm sure if our wives were in here, they would probably have a little bit of a different view on it. But so full disclosure here, we're not saying that weddings are not special and should not be celebrated, but to the tune of, hey, we're gonna take on debt,
just trying to go in debt,
so we can have one day,
have the greatest, most luxurious day without going in debt at 30%.
Yeah, and then we'll fight about paying the bill for the next 3 years.
Right.
No, thank you. So anyway, as always, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Feel free to shoot us an email if there's a financial topic you'd like us to talk about. We love getting emails from folks that listen to the podcast. Our email address is themoneyhuddle@vcplanning.com. Again, it's Annuity Awareness Month, and stay tuned because we are going to plan, hopefully, a Money Huddle Live coming up soon, because our favorite holiday is coming up, Bobby Bonilla Day.
Bobby Bonilla Day
so
around the corner.
Stay tuned, and as always, we'll talk to you next time.